Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:31. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes Blackfoot Confederacy members Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda, Bearspaw, Chiniki, Wesley First Nations, the Dene of Tsuut'ina First Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all those that made Treaty 7 lands their home. Thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. We've got a big delegation here. Two groups of people. We're really excited to hear from both of you. I'll just have a friendly reminder for your phones. If you can put them on vibrate or silence them. You don't have to turn them off altogether, but if you wish to, you're welcome to. In the event of an emergency, we'll let you know where the exits are. They're pretty self-explanatory, but they're just to your left. So let's get rolling so that we don't keep everyone too late here. We've got a pretty full agenda on doc, and at this time, I'm going to ask. Well, I know we have some adoptions to the agenda, and if we could just get those verbalized, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, under 6.1 for the delegation presentation, there was some information that was emailed to council today, which was additional information provided after publication. And 9.3, the CAO report, because it was late in coming, and administration is respectfully asking council for it to be included into this agenda. We are also looking at a republication, which will also include the MPC just recommendations for coming forward for your conversation and action item 8.1, which is the application 2176 multifamily building direct control District 5.
Thank you, Celia Brown. Anything else from anyone else? No? Awesome. I would take a motion to accept the agenda with the adoption. Please and thank you. Thank you, Councillor Vandenhoek. All those in favor to adopt the agenda as presented and with the adoptions, awesome. Carried unanimously. Thank you. I would take a motion for the adoption of minutes from 3.1, as long as everything looks good to everybody. Poke everyone tonight. Who's going to give me a motion? Councillor Bain. To adopt the minutes. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, which is 6:34, I'll open up question period. And having spoken to Berna, we've got one question on the doc that was emailed into us. So if we could hear that, that'd be great.
For sure. The question came in from Tammy. I apologize if I get the name wrong, Conacher. She approached Parks and Rec a few months ago about designating a cross-country ski trail on a vacant land on 3rd Street Southwest. There was also discussion about possibly designating an area near the ball diamonds. The area on 3rd Street would be preferable due to ambient lighting in the winter, but the area near the ball diamonds would be more interesting terrain. She was told there would be a sign put up to designate the area, alerting the residents that it is designated for cross-country skiing, and hopefully that would help keep the trails would help keep the trails people make with their skis undisturbed as much as possible. She was told that this is possible and hopes that it will still happen. The town of Black Diamond does not have a trail making machine to put in trails. Her question is, can that equipment be put as a possible purchase in the future for the town?
Thank you, Bruno. I believe Les gave her a quote on equipment as well. I think I was tied into this earlier. Any comments, questions, council, in regards to this? Councillor Thompson?
The only thing I see is our cross-country trail within town, and the way our Chinooks come and go to buy a pretty costly piece of equipment to maintain a cross-country trail, when really the nicest cross-country trails are just to the west of us. I wouldn't be actually in favor of doing this simply because of the weather ups and downs and some beautiful cross-country trails being accessible to to a lot of people. Also, the Turner Valley Golf Course allows people to cross-country ski on it in winter months. So that's just my thoughts on this question.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Any other comments, Council? Any, okay. Okay, perhaps I'll follow up with Les in regards to this and we'll take it from there. Yeah, so we'll let Tammy know that we'll have further discussion with Les, and perhaps like myself, I wasn't aware that the Turner Valley Golf Course, a lot of people to ski on it as well. So maybe if we let her know that would be a good alternative. CAO Brown?
I think that we have to get a formalized agreement. I am not aware that the golf course was actually in favor of people utilizing their lands off season. But we can look into that further.
Yeah, there's no formalized agreement. They have just always allowed residents to use it. So, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. It's kind of one of those handshake kind of deals, and we go from there. But then again, like it's iffy with the Turner Valley Golf Course too, with Chinooks coming and going, and it is not a groomed type situation. It's just they plow through the snow.
Right. I think that there is some follow-up that can be done through Parks and Rec. Can definitely follow up on that.
Okay.
Because I believe that I've also been in contact with the person. We have just done a assessment of they use areas at 606 and gone through. So there's a whole bunch of ideas that I believe Parks and Rec are exploring at this point in time. So depending on how the future goals and future conversations on what kind of facilities that we want to have within the community, it might be a good opportunity that we actually take this to maybe Jane Paskin and talk about that.
Awesome. Okay. Councillor May?
I was just going to say, if the Ball Diamond area is under consideration, we don't own all of the areas that's close by. We have to be very, very careful.
Good point.
What's used.
Okay. We'll follow up with Parks and Rec. Awesome. Thank you so much for your question, Tammy. If you're on, if you're not, you're hearing from us soon. Does anyone in the audience have a question, or are we all just here for West Winds and Gophers? I think, okay. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I will close the question period at 6:39 and we'll move right into our delegations. And tonight we're going to start with West Winds Communities Housing Needs Assessment. So if you'd care to come on up, Loren and Catherine, if you'd like, or just Loren, whoever. Come on up.
Picture.
Could you please
With resilience money, they're just moving it. It's indicated.
could you
Oh.
get a sound check?
Yes, I apologize. Okay, for anyone that's on, I believe I see Lisa and Alex. Can you guys hear us? Okay. Maybe just type in the chat box.
They have no access.
Oh, right, we don't have a chat box. Okay. Turn your video on and off if you want. I don't know. Hopefully you can hear us.
Oh, they can definitely hear you. They just can't,
Okay,
they can't unmute themselves.
okay.
Given them authority to do that.
Someone has to do the big check. I know with presenter access, usually they're able to do it, but they're not able to.
Is it under the three dots?
Oh, because it's not muted by me.
Was not muted by you?
No, the other participant is muted by me and it looks different. Okay. 1 second, let's try it from the other direction. Sometimes. I'm gonna try this.
There we go.
We can see you now. Can we hear you?
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Will Alex be screen sharing or just the documents that you sent in?
I'm just the documents that we sent. So,
Oh, is Lisa with you as well?
Mhm.
Sorry, I missed that. That was my.
sorry, I have to send this away.
Hello,
There,
Thank
everybody's
you for
in.
your patience, Lisa.
no worries.
Okay.
Are you folks operating the presentation slide deck?
Yes.
Great. Loren, would you like to give an introduction before we take over?
My name is Lorraine Ingalls. I'm the CAO for West Winds Communities. I'm joined with one of our longstanding board members, Catherine Robson. We have, over the course of the last year and a half, been working on a housing needs assessment for the town of Black Diamond and also for the town of Powell River. We have with us today our two consultants from Resilience Planning, Alex Cran and Lisa Moffat, who are going to provide you just an overview of this amazing material that we had generated, and we're hoping that council gets an opportunity to digest along with administration and really use this as a long-term planning tool. Lisa and Alex are going to give us just a brief presentation as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Loren. And next slide, please. So I think we can skip over introductions. Loren just did them, so thanks, Loren. Oh, but we can stay on that slide. So we'll give you a project overview today. We'll talk about some of the overarching frames that we used, what the housing indicators are, the housing needs that we're seeing in Black Diamond, quantitative summary of the housing gaps that we're also seeing in your community, priority groups that we're noticing need some special attention, and emerging needs. And then we'll open it up for any questions you might have. And you can skip the next slide and go to the project overview slide, please. Thanks. So this project came about in partnership with the towns of Black Diamond and High River, and it does not include Turner Valley, as well as Habitat for Humanity's Foothills chapter and West Winds Community. So we're completing a comprehensive analysis of the need for affordable housing for a 5 and 10 year time horizon for low and moderate income households in the rental and sales markets in each of these communities. So today we'll present the Black Diamond report. The assessments will be used to support the development of affordable and market housing, and the outcomes may facilitate affordable housing strategies for each community to help you implement responses to what we found in the housing needs assessment reports. This is aligned with recent provincial affordable housing recommendations that include encouraging municipalities to develop local affordable housing needs assessments and action plans. So as mentioned, our study area covers the municipality of Black Diamond, but excludes Turner Valley. I understand you folks are amalgamating. As part of our engagement process, our purpose there was to ground the development of the housing needs assessment in local knowledge and the needs of the community, and learn from residents' lived experiences with affordable housing, and also learn from housing and service providers in the area. So our objectives include cultivating relationships between the project partner organizations and who provide and support housing, and cultivating relationships with the residents in Black Diamond and High River, understanding the top priorities and issues for each segment of the housing wheel, and we'll show you the housing wheel on the next slide. Identifying opportunities, oh, not next slide yet, we'll just show it to you on the next slide. Identifying the opportunities and challenges in each segment of the housing wheel as they relate to affordable housing, and really qualifying the quantitative data. And you'll notice that there's a lot of quantitative data in the report. So from October to December of last year, we conducted 6 interviews with some key actors across both communities. And thank you very much to your CAO and planning staff for participating in those. We also held 3 workshops across November to December, one for each of nonprofit housing providers, another one from municipal council and council members and CAOs, and then another workshop for developers and builders. We also had 2 surveys that were in online and hard copy One was from a resident survey, and we had 79 responses to that, and then a public survey where we received 80 responses, and then 3 responses to an online developer survey. Engagement outcomes are appended to the housing needs assessment report for you and a What We Heard report. And the data analysis, so data was collected from 5 different sources for this report. Black Diamond has a small population, so it's not covered by Canada Housing Mortgage Corporation data. So we did include information from Statistics Canada Census from the years 2006, 2011, 2016, and 2021, both demographic and housing statistics. And just a note that the only data released from the 2021 census at the time the report was written was population data and number of households. We also included non-market housing stock, residence, and waitlist data information from West Winds Community. Alberta Health Services, we got projections for senior supportive housing. We also used Environics Analytics demo stats. So that shows current year estimates and projections for population and household statistics. So that really helped with the projecting out what the needs might be. And the Environics data was analyzed for key indicators around affordability, suitability, and adequacy, demographic profile, so a variety of demographic data around population, households, age, income, and labor. Housing profile, so Environics has a variety of data on the housing stock, including housing type, age, size, and information on the rental and ownership housing stock, as well as population projections. Housing need by number of bedrooms, so projected to 2026 and 2031 with gaps identified. And non-market housing need, so analysis of the current non-market housing stock and need, as well as the rental housing stock and need, and the ownership housing stock and need. And finally, estimates for housing gaps for 2026 and 2031 for housing unit size by tenure were prepared. And next slide, please. So this is the housing wheel that we use, and our overarching lenses are housing as a human right. So recognizing that everybody has a right to be housed. Also looking at social determinants of health. So the kinds of things that impact a person's ability to live a healthy lifestyle. So the influences of racism, access to food, housing, access to medical care, things like that. And then the housing wheel shows the different types of housing. So emergency shelter and traditional housing fall under like social safety net housing. And then those also are included in non-market housing, as well as supportive housing and subsidized housing. And then permanent housing includes supportive and subsidized housing, as well as rental and ownership housing. And then market housing also covers rental and ownership housing. And there's definitions there that I won't go through, and they're also in your report. And then I'll turn it over to Alex on the next slide to talk about the housing indicators needs and some of the data findings that we have.
Great. So this is some of the key findings from our analysis of quantitative housing indicators. So the first one, renters are particularly struggling with affordability in Black Diamond. So currently, renter households who earn under about $61,000 a year struggle to afford housing in Black Diamond, which accounts for 63% of renter households. So really, the majority of renter households are struggling to afford housing. Second key point is about a quarter of owner households would struggle to buy today. So owner households earning below about $49,000 a year would likely struggle to afford ownership housing if they were to buy new today. Third, while couples without children and couples with children are the most common household types in Black Diamond, lone person households, so like a person living by themselves, is a growing share of households, increasing from 22% of households in 2006 to 26% of households in 2016. Black Diamond is aging rapidly, so the share of people over 65 living in Black Diamond is increasing rapidly from 17% of the population in 2006 to 30% in 2021. And the share of people 15 to 64 years old is decreasing from 67% in 2006 to 54% in 2021. And the median age has increased from just under 43 in 2006 to over to 50.8, so almost 51 in 2021. The housing stock in Black Diamond is primarily single detached houses, accounting for 74% of units in 2016. And the housing stock has slowly added some diverse options, mostly apartments, which are 9% of the housing stock, and semi-detached houses, which are 5% of the housing stock. In Black Diamond, the vast majority of housing units have 2, 3, or 4 more bedrooms, and there are very few units that are studio suites, so have no bedroom, or have 1 bedroom. However, there is a huge need for 1-bedroom units because, as mentioned previously, 26% of households are currently 1-person households. Average rent has increased far beyond inflation. So across all renter households, median shelter cost has increased 60% from 2006 to 2016. That far exceeds inflation rates during this period of about 17.5%. There are a range of ownership options in Black Diamond. So the assessed values of homes in Black Diamond range from just under 100,000 to just over 700,000, with a median assessed value of 293,000. The majority of non-market housing is geared towards seniors. So there are a total of 107 households supported by West Winds Communities. The majority of the units are geared towards seniors, and there are 54 people on the wait list at the time of writing for non-market housing. Next slide. When we look at the qualitative status, the qualitative side from engagement and synthesize that with what we learned from the quantitative data analysis, this is what we found. First off, housing is not responding to needs and it's causing stress. So a lack of access to adequate, suitable, and affordable housing is impacting mental health, separating families, and holding people back. For instance, some people are not able to have custody of their children, some people forego better paying jobs to keep their affordable housing, and people are staying in unsafe relationships and cycles of domestic violence because there is a lack of options for them in terms of shelter. In particular, there is a need for studios and 1-bedroom units. So that's an additional 269 1-bedroom units by 2031. A need for more rental housing. So we calculated 56 units of additional rental housing. Non-market housing, so an additional 56 units of non-market housing, and affordable housing that allows pets. Adequacy of housing is also an issue in Black Diamond. So in 2016, the census identified that 6.8% of households were living in inadequate dwellings, which is dwellings that are in need of major repair. And that has increased significantly since 2011 and likely remains a significant challenge for households in Black Diamond. Second, affordability isn't just about housing. So food, transportation, and utility costs are rising, and wages and support payments are not increasing to match, and cost of childcare can be overwhelming. Access to reliable and affordable transportation especially is a barrier. Third, more support is needed across the board. So that ranges from support for mental health and substance use challenges to transportation support for seniors without vehicles, to programs for renters to better understand renter and landlord roles and responsibilities. In addition, youth have specific needs, so programs to help support youth in crisis. And youth also don't qualify for subsidy programs, which can lead them to precarious and unsafe living conditions. In addition, the perception of who renters are needs to change, because they are facing significant stigma and discrimination, and not necessarily everyone understands who needs rental housing. There's different experiences about the success of coordination between agencies. So interagency work is effective where it happens, but at the same time, clients need better support for moving through that process because people have shared experiences of being bounced around to different agencies and having to go to numerous agencies to seek support. Lastly, we need innovation, creativity, and risk takers. So the development mindset needs to shift. Developers need to be willing to take on more risk and demonstrate social responsibility. And municipalities have a leadership role to play. So municipalities need to be able to use all of the tools available to them to meet needs and municipalities have a role to help build capacity in and support partnerships with the nonprofit sector and advocate for funding from higher levels of government for non-market housing. Next slide. So this slide shows this quantitative summary of the housing gaps in Black Diamond. So we used projections of households in Black Diamond, their household size and composition, and their income, and used it to estimate the number of units needed. So here's the estimated gap between demand for housing by unit size and the current supply of housing units in Black Diamond. So you can see that there's a huge gap of 0 to 1 bedroom units between the demand and the supply for 2026 and 2031. That is primarily because of the large number of single person households and the low number of existing 0 to 1 bedroom units. There's also a really large demand for 2 bedroom units in Black Diamond. While the numbers for 3 bedrooms and 4 or more bedrooms both show negative numbers in Black Diamond, it is not anticipated that those units would be destroyed or removed. It just indicates an oversupply of those units. So some of those units could be split into multiple units, and some will house smaller households and provide extra room for those households. And next slide. So here, that same analysis is split by housing tenure. So looking at what units are needed by continuing care units, by non-market units, market rental, and market ownership units. So as seen earlier in this presentation, there's a greater proportional need for renters and especially non-market units than for owners. So the suggested split for new units is 60% market ownership, 20% market rental, and 20% non-market rental. So based on that suggested split, the gaps in housing units by tenure and size were projected for 2026 and 2031 in this table. So you can just see the numbers at the bottom. And next slide, and I'll pass it back over to Lisa.
Thank you, Alex. So the priority groups that we identified across our analysis include low parent households, single seniors, and low income households, where low parent households are in precarious employment situations and the cost of childcare is prohibitively expensive. Housing is also difficult to find and attain for low parent families due to affordability of suitable housing and some experiences of discrimination. So access to reliable and affordable transportation is also a barrier. Single seniors, the quantitative data analysis showed us that there's a large and growing number of single person households, which Alex has described, so increased from 22% in 2006 to 26% in 2011. In addition, single person households have a low household income with a median income of about $35,000. And from our engagement conversations, we know this includes a large portion of single seniors, and the experience of West Winds is the same. Low-income households, through engagement and quantitative analysis, it's evident that the need for housing for low-income households, including those working at minimum or low wages, is critical. So this includes smaller units for single people. And the following quantitative need was identified for additional non-market units by 2031. So 54 0 to 1 bedroom units and 51 2-bedroom units. In addition, costs beyond housing impact overall affordability, in particular, as we've mentioned, transportation, childcare, food, and utility costs all are rising. Next slide, please. So these two groups we're seeing as having emerging needs, youth and Indigenous peoples. So youth are in need of affordable and supportive housing, and they need specific supports, including help with mental health, substance use, skills for housing upkeep, finding employment, returning to school, managing money, and access to transportation options. There are no options for youth in crisis, and youth are often excluded from funding and have difficulty staying in their home communities as a result, particularly small communities where there aren't as many supports as in larger centers. We know that Indigenous families, typically medium to larger size families, looking to live off reserve or off nation, have few supports as there's none available to assist them once they're off nation. And they often encounter barriers and face discrimination in securing housing. They do require culturally appropriate housing with culturally appropriate wraparound services to help them stay in housing while healing from intergenerational trauma caused by colonial practices, such as the institution of residential schools, the ongoing rediscovery of thousands of Indigenous children buried at residential schools, the 60s scoop, loss of cultural practices and languages as a result, and ongoing racism that they experience on a daily basis. And that's everything. We're open to answering any questions you might have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Wonderful job wrapping up a big part of that report. So that was awesome. Council, floor is yours. If you have any follow-up questions.
I have some comments.
Yeah, please go ahead, Councilor Thompson.
Sorry, as one of those baby boomers that's a senior now and single living, I appreciate that there's a lot of us out there, baby boomers, and it's always been a concern of mine and many of my friends that there isn't going to be sufficient affordable housing for us as the years go by. A good thing about some baby boomers is they've really taken a hard look at what it's going to take to live comfortably into the future, whereas some didn't have that ability that are older than us, and so that's been a problem. So I appreciate that that's included in the report. Thank you. I do have one question. The portion that you're considering trying to have transferred to West Winds would be north of the current Glenmead 3?
West.
West, okay, west, okay.
Sort of the back, 40 behind the college.
So would that continue to be seniors only?
Yeah, we would probably look at some family affordable housing based on the demographic needs. So it would be mixed, and what we're finding with our seniors population too, is they want to be integrated as part of the community. And so we feel that it would be best that it have potentially mixed use. So it would include some families and it could include some market and non-market accommodation. Primarily the focus on market is because the province, through their 10-year affordable housing strategy, Stronger Foundations, is really pushing for mixed market where it is valid. And so we'd be encouraging. The land is currently owned by the province. And I think in order for us to even try to obtain title, we need to definitely target all three groups. And we see from our wait lists, all three groups are needed. By far, the majority of these would be seniors housing.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering if that would be like all encompassing. So that's good to hear as well. Black Diamond and Turner Valley's geographics has changed over the years, and I do recognize that there's baby boomers such as myself, but I also recognize that the geographics have changed so that there's quite a few younger generations that have moved into our community, and I'm not sure about the percentages versus what the 2016 census said about the population here in Black Diamond, but I'm seeing more and more younger families, families moving home, that lots that lived here and then moved away and have come back and with their children. And so I think we do have a big mix of different populations. I don't know that the seniors are the higher anymore, but I am just really happy to see that there's going to be a more diverse look at different housing options for many people, not just seniors and stuff. So thank you very much, Lauren, for your presentation and your staff.
Just one comment, Councillor Thompson. We have a small amount of funds remaining from contributions from the towns of Black Diamond and High River and West Winds budget. We actually do hope to do a data pull on the 2021 Statistics Canada and provide you an update. It's all based on when Stats Canada releases their data. We've been told, remember it's the federal government, it's November 2021, and we hope to have resilience planning provide you just a short update to include those 2021 stats, hopefully in the first quarter of 2023, so you have some data that's really quite fresh. maybe represents a little bit about what you're seeing too.
Yeah, I suspect it will, but yeah, it's frustrating. We should have really seen that census out before now, but the federal government. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bain.
You've indicated that there is or will be a shortage of certain types of accommodation for people. So there's obviously the need there. And then further on, you say that we need risk takers. Can you explain what the big risk is if there is a need?
I think the risk takers are for your to continue to develop something other than traditional 3-bedroom accommodation. To look at things that maybe are higher density, to look at it's very expensive on a square footage basis to build a 1 or a 2-bedroom accommodation versus 3-bedroom. With cost bang for your buck, you reduce a lot of the infrastructure costs. So that's some of the risks that is identified in the study. There's also a risk for the not-for-profit community too. We're leveraging assets and resources where we might typically be more conservative. We've got to be more risk averse to be able to meet that demand too. So we've all got to think a little bit differently, be a little bit more creative. That part of the hope with doing this study was to see if not only the private development community, but not-for-profits perhaps could partner, or not-for-profits themselves could partner and sort of leverage their capabilities to get more housing in this community.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Bain. Any more questions? Council? Could you perhaps expand on what you would need from us? A letter of support. What would you like from us if, in regards to the 3.2 acres, I believe?
So when our board met the end of June, sorry, they were something that was very loud and clear to them, at least where Black Diamond was concerned, was trying to ensure that we're planning for the future and trying to secure. We know that the provincial government has land available. We surround it on 2 sides. There's a bluff and hospital on the remaining sides. It's not really of interest to anybody else, or they might even not be aware of it other than their dog walkers. But we use that just for a little bit of a community part. We would seek council support in having that land turned over to us. We have representatives from each of the local municipalities within the Foothills region, and they felt really strongly that it would be a benefit and that it was really integral as part of the amalgamation of our 2 local communities to have that land. We know that there aren't a lot of housing land options in Turner Valley as well, and that this site is large enough to be 3 acres. It's huge to be able to use for next site development for affordable housing. It's attractive. The province owns it. We mow it every week. It's there. Let's try to make that happen. So we are seeking council support, not only from Black Diamond, but asking Turner Valley as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, council. Deputy Mayor.
You have one particular question here. Is it 3.61 acres?
Yes.
Sorry, so
I would be prepared to make a motion.
just had to highlight.
That's it.
that.
I have to.
Thank you very much. I will hear your motion.
The council agreed to request from the Ministry of Seniors and Housing, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and MLA RJ Sigurdsson to transfer the property title of 3.61 acres of vacant property adjacent to Glenmead Park 3. There's lots here, sorry. 709 Government Road, Black Diamond, and High Country Lodge 707 Government Road, Black Diamond, to Westlands communities to develop the site for housing needs identified in the 2022 Black Diamond Affordable Housing Needs Assessment Report.
Thank you. Anyone like to speak to the motion? Councilor Thompson.
This is wonderful. But I have one question, Lauren. Is there going to be grant funding available once this land gets?
So Ministry of Seniors has released a 10-year strategy to develop 25,000 units in Alberta, and that sounds super. Their first RFP is scheduled to be released this fall, so this project will not fall in that first RFP schedule because the province doesn't move very quickly. the key component will be how much grant funding will make available. In the first year alone, they're making less than $2 million a year. The way I've sort of calculated it, roughly, it's about $25,000 a door. But what the great thing is if you have the province contributing land and you leverage it with CMHC funding, because both the province and feds are looking for each other to contribute. They won't play in the sandbox unless they're together. Then we get that leveraging piece, and we're able to leverage that. Could be also that I might be coming back here in a year and saying, is there something the town can do to help make this materialize too? Because that's sort of the winning lottery ticket. Having all three levels of government really helps in securing funding. And there's some very good dollars that are deployed, but again, we're competing nationally too, but they have lots of money.
Excellent news. Great. Thank you.
Councilor.
I want to confirm with planning, if we could, that there is the capacity as far as sewer and water to build on that particular piece of property. Okay.
Yeah, if I may,
Please do.
Yes, it's a good question. We have done some investigations into capacity, and there is capacity for water. The question is capacity for the sewer system. We've done some investigation into the capacity of the sewer system in relation to the development of the 11-acre site south of the hospital. This capacity was determined as capacity for that, but it is getting tight. So there's potentially some question around that would need to be looked at.
And would that affect the development that's south of the hospital on the other side of the road?
Well, yeah, with limited capacity, the town would have to look at it potentially, or if there's not enough for everything. It would have to be investigated further.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Good question, Councilman. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to it? Okay, motion on the table. All those in favor to support? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Westminster, for coming in. Thank you to our presenters on screen. We need another motion.
I'll give you that.
Councilor Thompson.
The council agreed to release the 2022 Black Diamond Affordable Housing Needs Assessment Report to the community jointly with West Winds Communities to encourage local future economic and community development, and is used as a long-term planning tool.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Anyone like to speak to the motion? All those in favor to release? Oh, excuse me.
One that
Go ahead.
piece of information that as soon as council does do this, it has been requested that we share the study with Turner Valley. Basically because the demographics and the information is going to be very much similar. And so it will be a good planning tool for both the communities and the amalgamated community. So we've been working together on that.
And we try to include Turner Valley as much as possible. Need the consultants. We did, and particularly in the consultation.
Okay, all those in favor to release the report study? Carried unanimously. Thank you again. Catherine. Thanks for coming in. Yes, safe travels home.
Nice seeing you again. It's good to see you.
Okay. It is. It is.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna hire Phil Murray. He's coming, I've seen him. Yeah,
Okay,
this is dynamite.
let's move right on. Thank you for your patience, Diamond Valley Community Garden members and any members that are involved with the garden. Let's hear what you got. We've got lots of letters, which has been great. If you'd like to join us at the table, please come on up. Yes.
It's a very low tech version.
Oh, that's okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jane Taves, and as a representative of Diamond Valley Community Garden, I'd like to begin by thanking you for this opportunity to speak directly.
about a significant problem affecting the community garden and many residents in the northeast quadrant of Black Diamond. We are overrun with Richardson's ground squirrels, i.e. gophers, that are destroying our gardens and property. To begin, I'd like to address the immediate problem of pest control by asking Council for funding of $2,500 for what our research suggests is the most effective and acceptable method of eradication, which is the application of carbon monoxide. This procedure does not have any side effects. There's no collateral damage to wildlife, children, pets, soil, water, or the air. Dr. Ingrid Rosenauer, local veterinarian from Eastern Slopes, is going to speak about the subject of safe and effective pest control. After Ingrid, I'm just going to go through our thing, okay? And then after Ingrid, I'll speak on behalf of the garden about the garden itself and the effects that the gophers are having in the garden and what deterrents we have used. Jacqueline Cassidy, the gardener with the community garden, has visited many of the residences in Northeast Black Diamond and will speak next about the impact that gophers are creating in that part of town. Please save any questions or concerns that you wish to bring up till the end of the presentation. And we hope to have time for questions. Lots of time. Start with Dr. Wilson.
Sure. Go ahead.
Wherever you're most comfortable. It's totally up to you.
Okay, well, I guess my biggest concern is the use of rodenticides. So rodenticides are anticoagulants, and a lot of anticoagulants or rodenticides out there, they have been marketed as pets and animals safe. They are not. I treat them all the time. And I think the biggest problem is that there's this lack of education on how the anticoagulants work. So I'm going to give you a really quick idea for everybody here, and all will share this with you. So when the rodents eat the anticoagulant, those little pellets that you see, they don't die right away. So they don't die in their burrows right away. The problem is that their bodies have this reserve of platelets for about 5 days. We all do. And the rodenticide stops the body's ability to produce platelets. So there's a 5-day lag before the animal even starts to feel vaguely ill. Because what happens is your body, or a rodent's body, or a dog's body, it doesn't matter. You're always getting little tears in your arteries and in your veins, and the platelets come around and they plug them. So your body's always got this reserve of platelets. So when that reserve is depleted, that's when the animals die out. So the problem is that the rodents are running around outside their burrows, doing their thing, getting eaten by our predators, which are the hawks and the eagles and everything else. And the problem is the hawks and eagles will eat 20 to 30 of them in a day. And then they die. And then we have a rodent problem. So maybe we need to find another way. Because the other thing is that it kills dogs and cats. And it's not going to kill the cat or dog if it eats 1 or 2 rodents. That is true. But they dig in those burrows. We've all seen the dogs do it. They dig straight down in and they eat that stuff. Or they eat it out of your garage. Because it's sweet and it tastes good. That's why the rodents eat it. It's all full of sugar. So anyway, that's my little spiel about rodenticides. Terriers are fantastic. I mean, I have lots of clients who would give up their animals for an afternoon. And they would go in there, you could probably have to pay them for some dewormer afterwards. But really, I mean, right?
Yeah,
A greedy wormer. You can let your dog out for an afternoon in the community garden. I don't know. So anyway, there are a lot of options. I did look into this Burrow RX, which has the carbon monoxide. Looks super interesting because they die right away. The carbon monoxide, kills them. They die in the burrow, even if they died outside the burrow, which I don't even think they do. And animal that picks it up isn't going to die from that. So it's really an interesting prospect. I was kind of wondering about the safety of the carbon monoxide around the person who runs it. Like you said, they don't even have to wear a mask.
No.
But then when I was doing research onto carbon monoxide poisoning and how it works, I also found out that that's why our meat looks red in the butcher stores, because they put, did you know that? Yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, I thought they are so fast at putting that plastic over top. That's amazing. You can tell it's old when the bone,
So anyway, what's that?
when the bone goes gray, it's 2 days old.
Right. So, see? So anyway, like, that's just my little spiel on rodenticides, and that's why last year they were trying to do it out in front of my clinic, and I went up there and I said, no, don't do that, and everything else. So anyway, I'm here to educate.
Thank you for coming tonight and educating me. It definitely helps me. Yeah, yeah. Jane, the floor is still yours.
Okay, the value of the community garden. And you may have read all this stuff, but I'm gonna go through it just briefly. This is a little bit of background about the community garden. It's been part of the community for over 20 years. And over this time, the garden has expanded to its present 70 beds with food forests and fruit trees, berry bushes, rhubarb patches, and so forth. We've supported the food bank, provided education programs within our community, assisted gardening project at the high school, workshops at the library, assisted other foothills communities with the development of their own community gardens. We're financially self-sufficient group that is presently a subcommittee within Parks and Recreation Department within the town of Black Diamond. Our income comes entirely from bed rentals and from fundraising. We're not supported by tax dollars. To give you a further understanding of what community garden means for the gardeners themselves, I quote a few letters and words from the gardeners to relate what the potential loss of the garden could mean. The community garden is a beautiful asset to our town aesthetically, environmentally, and socially. My husband and I fear that the garden itself is in jeopardy if there's no hope of getting a harvest. That's really the crux of the matter here. The financial loss is significant to gardens like us who've lost everything this year. The rental fee for our plot, amending the soil, seeds we planted more than once because of the pests, and you can multiply our expenses many times over the losses sustained by other gardeners. We're looking for cooperative action, which is absolutely required. The community garden is not only a physical space. The gardeners who tend to their plots are also tending to friendships with shared wisdom and experience. If enough damage is allowed to occur due to the lack of action, these vital community elements are also threatened, which particularly after the isolation of the pandemic are integral for the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health of many who are active within and tangential to the community garden. Another person was saying, I strongly feel it's time for the council to implement an urgent emergency plan to exterminate the rampant gopher population in as safe a way as possible for other wildlife. Another comment, the most effective means of gopher control that we've had is natural predation by a local fox population that lived on the East Ridge opposite the community garden. Foxes have not been seen for 2 years, and I understand they were deliberately killed. That was a big shame. The damage to the garden done by gophers is so extensive and disheartening that several gardeners have already given notice to left the garden. With the continuing decimation of the garden, I'm sure more will follow. We appreciate that pest control in the town is the responsibility of the town council. The problem requires immediate attention, and we wish to share the research we've done to determine the best solution at this time. We concluded that the use of carbon monoxide to exterminate the gophers in their dens would be the most effective remedy. This procedure does not have the kind of side effects that persist with poison bait and is therefore more acceptable to our gardeners. And we did a poll on our gardeners. We had an emergency meeting, 16 people came. There were some people who had reservations. And, you know, I totally understand that. We're looking at long-term kinds of possibilities to satisfy that reservation. But I think everyone agrees now that there's an emergency at this point. There's no question about it. Places jumping to gophers. The third point was impact of gophers in the Northeast neighborhood. And that is, they're prolific. They're very social. It's our desire to have a positive relationship with our residential neighbors in the Northeast quadrant. And so we wish to do our part to assist however we can with pest control. And Jacqueline Cassidy will provide further details this evening. She's been known to see a number of people in that area.
You know, I did copies for you guys.
Certainly take some. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Sam Lethbridge and I knocked on doors and talked to residents, and this is what we've gathered. The following residents in the Northeast area have indicated they are wanting the town to take action on controlling the Richardson ground squirrel population, which have been rapidly moving into the residential area from the public green space lands, except for one resident who does not want the town to waste money unless spending is responsibly done. And I have just written everything down that was comments from residents in no particular order. You can, I don't think I need to read the addresses or house numbers and the streets, but it goes from Center Street all the way to Valley Ridge Place that we've knocked on doors. Residents' comments all agree town needs to take action immediately. One resident not on board for use of traps poison is okay with carbon monoxide. One resident suggested letting the grass grow long as a natural long-term remedy. Several residents suggest trees or nesting sites for birds of prey. Several residents, or one resident concerned for pet safety with chemical use and inviting predators back. Several residents complained to Parks and Rec on a number of occasions. Several shared their endeavors to eradicate ground squirrels from their properties only to have them return via other tunneling routes. One resident paid a company to live trap and relocate ground squirrels only to have more appear. The company told the owner it was costly and futile endeavor given the area outside the resident's yard, which is the town green space, and as it's overrun. A number of residents made this issue known to Parks and Recreation over the last month and a half. One resident found stinking rotten carcass of ground squirrel on deck area, and several residents are having damage done under decks and structures in yards. The time permits. The letter written by one gardener and resident, he and his wife, this is his letter, just short letter, have a dual interest, as I've said. The community garden is overrun by gophers from the surrounding field. We personally flagged at least 80 holes in the short grass perimeter alone, and a further 6 now setting up home within the grass fence. Each year, I live trap gophers in our own garden and have no doubt at all where they are sourced, as I have almost run over several en route from the field in the back lane when driving to my garage. I strongly feel it is time the council implement an urgent emergency plan to exterminate the rampant gopher population in as safe a way as possible for other wildlife on the land owned by them for the support and benefit of both community garden patrons, many of whom are threatening to give up their plots, and also their surrounding residents. Yours sincerely, Ken and Nancy Dutton. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To summarize, I think we all realize this, that the issue is out of control with the gopher population in the Northeast, and it is a community problem. Thus, the council's involvement at this time is essential. We have done our part to research the most effective gopher control method available. We've thoroughly discussed the issue of gopher eradication, not only with our garden members, but with the local residents in Northeast regarding our shared problem. They are all supportive of gopher eradication using carbon monoxide. I think that's the big distinction between gopher eradication with poison and what we're, promoting now. What we need now is your approval to cover the cost of carbon monoxide pest control, which we estimate will roughly amount to $2,500. And when I spoke to the person, I really didn't know how many acres we had, so that was the number we came up with, and I appreciate that council administration is going to carry on with that. Get more accurate. Any questions?
Just a comment for me. Comments, yeah. Okay, well then I'll just keep mine brief. This has clearly been a pressing and frustrating issue for many of you. You've done more than enough homework here. So thank you for your patience, and I'm gonna pass it on to council, because I know we're only in this direction. So, council, anyone? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, please.
The Gophers are moving from the northeast to the northwest. They've crossed Governor's Road and we're overrun on my side of town now. It's terrible. So I live a block from the community garden. So I was invited to bring my dogs into the community garden after harvest and before planting, and they're proven killers, my dogs, but there were only 3 holes in the community garden at that point, and all the critters were on the outside. And I don't want to be that counselor who gets caught making a bylaw.
They just got out.
Just too young got out. I'm walking around with everything.
Afraid to walk through that field. Yeah, my ankle, you know, just twist my ankle or something.
So yeah, I fully support eradicating to the best of
Yeah.
our ability, and also I'm happy with permission to let my dogs, you know, wear little vests and be like gopher control. That, oh my gosh, you could do like a fundraiser. Yeah, and I actually know a lot of dog owners, as Ingrid does, that would be more than happy to tag team inside, outside the
Oh, yeah.
community garden to keep this problem under control. Especially after harvest.
We could talk to some deworming companies, they could like, you know, spikes or something.
Have a yearly hunt.
Yes, twice a year. And I also thought, I wrote a story years ago, an article about this falconer. He's no longer living in the country. He works for some prince in Dubai or something. But every falconer has to start with a red-tailed hawk, and they're all registered with the conservation officers, whatever their department is called. So we could do some research and find some locals, and if we could somewhat guarantee that there's no poison in this population of gophers, maybe they'd be happy to come practice hunting, and these hawks are really good, like, they don't miss. Okay, so another idea.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Bain?
After I was alerted to the problem, thank you, Jane, I went and took a look, and yeah, it was even worse than I had thought. So I phoned the rat and pest control expert up in Edmonton. Yes, there is such a creature in the Alberta government. And she suggested 2 things. One, she did recommend gassing. Yes, that was definitely something that was good. She also recommended a product called Rosol. And I know what anticoagulants do, and so I specifically asked if it was dangerous. And she told me, the expert, that if it's properly applied, and it should be done in the spring rather than now, if it's properly applied, it's not dangerous.
Not true.
Yeah,
I believe it.
I'm just passing that on.
Yeah.
It's,
Maybe there's something about the properly applied, but I don't think anybody properly applied it, they set it down.
Yeah.
And they think more is better.
So the first-
That's also things. Well, I don't know, but I know Rosal and I know what it is. It's a good, it's a revenge.
Yeah.
And it's green, and I mean, don't pick it up. And treat them all. So, I don't know where she's getting her information. But it's also the same, because they were up front of the clinic and it was from an environmental company out of Okotoks, and I called her and I said, this is a rodenticide you're using. And she was adamant that it was because their representative had told them that it was. And I was like, well, this is the product, and this product is what it does.
Yeah.
So we had a good conversation about it, because I think that it must be a multi, I don't know. I don't know how it's even allowed, quite frankly.
I also phoned a pest control company just to get an idea of what the cost might be. And I specifically asked about anticoagulants, and I was informed quite reliably that as long as an animal didn't eat its own body weight in dead gophers, then it was okay.
That's true,
So-
but raptors eat their body weight in dead gophers all
Yep.
the time,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, I get it. If a dog eats the gophers, it's not gonna die. But if the dog eats the rat poison, it's gonna die. And that's the sticking point.
I'm not against
No,
or for putting these things out. I'm just passing on what you
Yeah.
probably already know. That, yeah, I've done some research into it too, and the gassing is definitely the answer right now. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
I have a funny story for you. So my sister-in-law, Julie Thompson, lives east of town, and they have a gopher problem all the time. I mean, ranchers and farmers always have gopher issues. Anyway, somebody told her to put double bubble gum down their holes, and when they eat it, it plugs everything up when they die. So there's my poor sister-in-law for a solid week out there packing around 5 gallons, and bought a whole bunch of double bubble gum, packing around double bubble gum and putting it down the gopher holes, thinking that this is wonderful because I'm not hurting anything and these things are going to be gone. 2 weeks of that, she did that. And the amount of money she spent on double bubble gum, I dare to gas, and didn't help a bit. So yes, I would support the use of the carbon monoxide, and I'm not too keen on the other alternative. You know, like we have had lots of foxes and we do have lots of raptors in the area, but this year's been a horrible year for everyone for gophers, I must say. And gophers are like, they can have 2 litters a year. So, and some of their litters are like 6 pups in a litter. So it's really tough to get a hold of the gophers. And so hopefully it'll help, but I tell you what, it'll be an ongoing problem forever and ever because they move. So if we can, if the garden club can look at other alternatives on top of this, like maybe get it under control this year, try to get the best of your ability this year, and then start looking into some different alternatives and stuff like that. Maybe the falcons or, you know, but yeah, I totally would be in favor of trying to do something with carbon monoxide to save the gardens and maybe get a better start for next year. But I have friends that live down there in that quadrant, and they've had, one of my friends had somebody come in and trap the gophers. So, you know, like, you're not going to get away from some people that just are just dead set against trapping and stuff, or even the carbon monoxide, but you got to do something because they will take over.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bain, did you have a follow-up?
I was just going to say I can give them all to when you're ready.
I think we're ready. Yeah, we'll take it. Please and thank you.
The council agreed to transfer an amount not to exceed $4,000 from the Parks General Operating Reserve to provide a possible pet control solution on town property in and around the Diamond Valley Community Garden. And the only comment I have is, geez, it's a really well written motion. Thank you.
Can I make a friendly motion or a
You
friendly
did well on
amendment?
that one, Ken.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, no, well, sure. But can we make it that carbon monoxide is the preferred solution, not giving option to any of the other to the rodenticides? Thank you.
I'm sorry, what did you want?
Yeah, it does say two things. To have it set as the carbon monoxide is the preferred method.
Solution.
Yeah, preferred solution for pest control.
So,
Providing a
Yeah.
population.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't want option.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that's an okay amendment to that.
Sorry, monoxide or dioxide? Monoxide? Forgot all my chemistry.
Love that.
That work? Is that what you were looking for?
Yes.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say initially.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ted, you're reading our minds here.
Council, would anyone like to speak to the motion? Hopefully you guys can salvage some fruits and vegetables this year.
Don't use double banks.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously. All the best for the next couple months, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
So if there's anything we can do to assist with this, you know, flagging and stuff like that, we're going to have to do that.
Thanks, Jane.
Flagging and letting-
I think it's coming in.
That's my entire greenhouse.
Celebrate watching guys. Yeah, of course.
I live on Valley Ridge Place,
Okay.
and they have all that industrial up on the hill now. And I was told when that was being put in there that they were gonna be having trees all along there to help disguise the buildings.
Okay.
So I know there's a lot of residents, it's not me, there's a lot of residents on that side that are having issues with the lights. And if we did have trees there, that would also be, would also help with the growing population. Which would
Yes.
help control with the voters. So whoever that's developed that they know should be held accountable to make sure that landscaping is done, the trees are protected.
Okay,
And my 2 pennies worth.
yeah, thank you. Can I get your name?
Samantha Lethbridge.
Samantha. Thank you, Samantha.
All right, thank you for listening.
Yeah, of course. At 7:42, we will take a 5-minute break. 7:49. Welcome back. I believe we're at bylaws 7.2. And since I'm not seeing anyone vigorously shake their head telling me no, we are site-specific amendment to a land use bylaw 2021-6. So I think I'm on the right page. Yeah, pass over to Rod or to CEO Brown, whoever likes to take it from there.
So just so that council is aware, and Rob will be speaking to this, but this is the golf course lands where we are actually building the mountain bike track. And so just so that you have some idea of where that land, where those lands are. And we will go through some of the reasons why we have to do this site specific.
Yeah. I think that what was confusing me was the public recreational path, not bike track. That's what was confusing.
Sure. Okay. Yes, so we are doing a site specific or proposing a site specific amendment to the land use bylaw on those lands. We annexed them from the county in 2020. Under our land use bylaw, those lands are, the county zoning carries forward. We haven't rezoned them to anything. So the bulk of the land where the golf course has their maintenance buildings and then just kind of all that vacant space, not vacant, but natural area. Is zoned as agricultural, and the driving range is actually zoned, oddly enough, country residential. But it's kind of all developed or used for outdoor recreation, is what the golf course would fall under. So this amendment it serves 2 purposes. We're not proposing to change the agricultural and country residential land use district. Just trying to do something simpler, just to allow for the development of the bike track and also to recognize the existing outdoor recreational development, the golf course. So the amendment proposes to add outdoor recreation as discretionary use on those lands. And also to, it also adds outdoor recreation, multi-use recreational pathway, I think is the term that's used, as a permitted use on those lands. And the rationale for having kind of, for going with outdoor recreation as discretionary versus permitted is because the definition of outdoor recreation is fairly broad, and we wanted to have it discretionary so that the town has a bit more developmental control if something were to be brought forward. But the pathway would be permitted because it's partly under construction already, and this is a council initiative. It's not a pathway.
I was going there.
There's a council initiative that, it's an initiative that's important to council to to complete. So we didn't want it to be appealable, so it's permitted. And that was the rationale for framing the bylaw that way. So, well, that's it in a nutshell. Proper report would be presented to council at the public hearing. This is just a brief explanation of the rationale for what's being proposed.
Thanks, Rob. Okay. Any questions, council? Is there, I just have a question because I may not fully understand. So we make this change, is there a possibility of an appeal? Like if we change this, could someone say, no, we don't want to see it done that way? Like, is there any threat in like us not being able to continue the path in any capacity here? Or?
Well, if council doesn't pass this bylaw, then
What if, let's say council does pass it? Is there a resident that could come in and say, we don't want to have that land designation changed?
well, if council passes the bylaw and outdoor recreation services, multi-use recreational path is a permitted use, then there is no appeal on permitted uses. So there's, they would have to try to apply to court and somehow seek a court application that the amending bylaw was not done in good faith or find some legal basis to have a court overturn council's decision to amend the bylaw. Okay. But it's a permitted use. Permitted uses aren't appealable.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council? Someone want to give me a motion?
I can do that.
Councillor Thompson?
Council agreed to give bylaw 2022-08 a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 2021-06, first reading.
Okay, does anyone want to speak to the motion? I have 2022-08 on mine. I heard 06.
No, it's amending 2021. It's an amendment to the land use bylaw 2021-06. It isn't included in the reading, but I included it.
Okay.
In the resolution.
Okay.
You don't have to include it in the second and third. It's just, I think it's kind of sometimes important to see it in the first one.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
As a noxious request, can we type it up on the board, please?
Read it. Are you ready? That council agreed to give bylaw 2022-08 a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 2021-06, first reading.
And added the word revised. It is a revised bylaw.
Agreed to give first reading to bylaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Vernon.
Okay, we okay? You're super good.
Ready.
Okay, all right, so we've got a motion on the table. Number one. Okay. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. And Councilor Van Hit's gonna give me the second one.
that council agree to hold a public hearing for bylaw 2022-08 on August 17th, 2022. Now, I won't be at that meeting, but should we do it earlier? I'm sorry, you well read that. I just was reading it. Sorry. I was just thinking out loud. I was like, shit. On August 17th, 2020. Yes, sorry. And then, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so we'll take it at the end of 2022.
Yeah, I just trailed off.
Okay. Anyone want to speak to this one?
I will now speak to my own motion. Is it best to have us all here for that one? Or does it matter? It's just the public hearing.
As long as Councilor Lalonde is here. Okay.
As long as we have quorum,
Force.
Okay, yeah,
as long as you have quorum, it's fine.
okay, perfect. That's all I wanted to make sure. Thank you. Now I'm done speaking to my own motion.
Okay. Any further
I'm
comments?
doing it.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Awesome. Okay, I think we are moving right along. Rescind election signs, bylaw 2022-09. This one is super self-explanatory, and I believe we've talked about it at JFAC, and we've discussed it. Would anyone like to further talk about this motion, or someone just want to give it to me? Councillor Bain.
The council agreed to give bylaw 2022-09 to rescind bylaw 2021-11, the election signs bylaw, first reading. And you said everything that I might have wanted to say. Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bain. Any comments? All those in favor? Carry. All those opposed? Okay. And Deputy Mayor, please do.
That council agreed to give bylaw 2022-09 second reading.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? And all those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay. Please, Deputy Mayor.
I'm just going to suggest we not continue and do this at the next meeting.
I won't.
You won't?
I'm just voicing my disapproval for it in front of everybody here. It's no.
So
Right.
we decided pretty amicably that our bylaw is superior and awesome, that we would just concede to
The easier thing.
the easier thing to do
Mhm.
rather than change land use bylaws.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. That's why I'm not opposing it, because I was like, I won't put everybody through the shit, but everybody can see that I'm just not totally for it. I wasn't part of JPAC, but yes, I guess that's exactly.
Thank
what I'm
you.
saying.
Everyone agreed.
Yeah.
Turner did the best job, and Turner Valley is terrible for not having one and not supporting us.
Yes, absolutely true.
You
I
Turner Valley said that.
completely agree. Yeah, Turner Valley said that. So with that, I won't give you guys shit and I'll let this go so we can
All right.
keep doing stuff.
Okay.
Keep praying going. Okay, but I had to say something. I wasn't just gonna bitch about it. I was just gonna. Now see, we've spoken about it.
I love, we let the shit go. Just can't do the.
What shit?
The words.
One.
Yeah, I gave. No.
One.
I need a motion. Councillor Thompson.
The council agreed to present bylaw 2022-09 for third reading at this time.
Okay. All those in favor? I wasn't even gonna ask for comment. Okay, one more. Councillor Bain, would you like to?
Sure, I'll finish. I
Come on up.
started it, I'll finish it. The council agreed to give bylaw 2022-09 third and final reading. That's it.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Awesome. Okay, done deal. Moving on. 7.2-3. Okay, this one's pretty straightforward.
It
Would you
is
like-
pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
but just so that
Yeah,
council is
please.
aware
Yeah.
that there's a housekeeping issue that we have to do. Typically, our waste bylaw had said that we would have a 4% penalty rate, and our water and sewer says 5% penalty rate. We just want to bring that forward and make it 5 all the way across, 4 all the way across the board, so that it's going to be coinciding with Sugar Valley's rates on penalties.
Thank you, CAO Brown. Okay, would anyone like to, Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, you're pretty good on this bylaw. Is there, and I looked through it and I think I saw it, but I just need to be refreshed. Is there a penalty clause in there that we can transfer to taxes? Yeah, I thought there was, and I just couldn't find.
It's in the MGA. It's in the MGA. It's like that.
I know it's in the MJ, but it's also kind of important that it's in our bylaw too, just in case we ever get questioned, and I believe it's there.
I can't remember which section, but I'm pretty sure that it is, because
I'm pretty sure I looked it up.
believe the same.
Actually, yeah, here it is. That's section 80. It's a big bylaw. Yeah, so non-payment of utility rates. So everybody's kind of under the misconception that a town isn't cannot shut off your utilities, and we absolutely can. So, well, it's in the MGA as well. So people sometimes won't pay their bills and they'll get all upset because eventually we'll go shut their water off or whatever. And yeah, no, we're allowed to do that.
Okay. Someone give me a motion.
First motion.
Okay. That's random.
All right, sorry. There we go. That council agreed to give bylaw 2022-10 to amend, that was bylaw, am I right there?
Yeah, you're on.
18-01, the water, sewer, and utility bill first reading.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Okay, would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll take another motion, Deputy Mayor.
The council agrees with bylaw 2022-10, second reading.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Deputy Mayor.
The council agrees to present bylaw 2022-10 for third reading at this time.
Was that a question, Councilor Thompson?
No.
Just get- All those in favor? Okay.
I'll bring it back.
I got frightened with the 10:30 timeline.
Councilor Benjamin.
All right, that council agreed to give bylaw 2022-10 third and final reading.
Wonderful. All those in favor? Right. Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Okay, perfect. Good job, everybody.
All right,
Okay,
that's operated as a team.
that was good. That's well done. Well done.
It's
Okay,
shooting up.
I believe this is the moment Mr. Roth is waiting for. Okay, the floor is yours. We're at application 21-76 multifamily building, indirect control 5 district. The floor is administration and our planner, Mr. Ross.
Pardon me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So, council is the development authority for this piece of land, zone direct control 5, which means that it's under council's direct control. So there's a bylaw that is specific to this property. We received an application for development on it. A building similar, basically identical color to the existing buildings that have already been previously developed. It's at an intersection of 3rd Street and Highway 7, just south of the. So here's a up close site plan. So the property is highlighted in blue, and you can see what we're showing here are the parking stalls. The building is located in on the west side of the site, and there's 22 parking stalls located on the main floor of the building, similar to the existing buildings. And then there's additional parking located outdoors in the same parking area as the other outdoor parking. So the amount of parking that's provided meets what is required by the land use bylaw. Looking at the unit size, the table, I apologize, it's a little hard to read, but what that's trying to show is that show the size of the units that would be provided in this building. The bylaw requires a minimum size of 75 square meters, or just over 800 square feet. There are some units that don't meet that minimum size. They are 69.4 square meters. So they're a little smaller. Council can grant that variance as part of its approval if it thinks that's appropriate.
May I ask a question about that, Ron? Being under that square footage, was the developer, like, did they have a plan B in the event that we said, no, it's got to adhere to our bylaws, or are they coming in just asking for the variance and approval at the same time?
Yeah, they are asking
Okay.
for approval. And
Okay.
variance.
Thank you.
So this is the exterior of the building. Well, showing the height. Okay, so the height that's proposed is 15.52 meters. The maximum permitted height is 16 meters, so it's under height. And once again, it's identical to what has been built on the rest of the site. This shows the setbacks. Yes, so the location of the building meets the minimum setbacks required from property lines. It's located 6 meters from the property line to the north, 10.5 meters to the west, and 7.5 to the south. And so it exceeds meets or exceeds the requirements for setbacks. It's showing distance between buildings, so there's a bylaw requires at least 15 meters between other buildings on site, and it exceeds the minimum requirements. So this bylaw, this is showing, this little details is showing the plumbing for the sprinkler system. The bylaw requires that the building be sprinklered, and the water pressure is adequate in that area, especially since we completed the water looping a couple of years ago. Showing site access, so the property will be accessed directly from First Avenue. There is no access off of 3rd Street to the west. Showing the landscaping, the trees, some are existing, some will be planted. So the bylaw requires planting along 3rd Street and along Cedar Avenue.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, just looking through these early prints, like the parquet floor, is there a generator room for the sprinkler system? For backup generation?
I don't know. Councilor, I don't know.
Is that if there's a sprinkler system and you lose power, which can frequently happen around here, and I think that's a huge issue.
I think it's operating under the pressure from the municipal system. But they have to, addressed through the safety codes process, the building permit and you know, you have to meet the requirements of the fire code. So they have been, you know, the plans have been reviewed by our fire chief. But yeah, there's further approvals required, and I expected that would be, that's addressed by the fire code.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer. That's the no to that specific question, but would be addressed in further permits.
Fair, yes, okay, further permitting. Good, makes sense. Deputy Mayor?
This change transportation studies for 3rd Street accessing highway. 22 is how many lanes?
No, they do have a permit from Alberta Transportation, so they have you know, circulated Alberta Transportation. They indicated that they would require a roadside development permit. And they issued the roadside development permit without requirement of any traffic impact assessment. The town has done, did some work. They had urban systems kind of look at the intersection of 3rd Street and Highway 7 a number of years ago. The intersection isn't ideal. You know, the slope and the sight lines due to that wall make it it's less than ideal. We did look at potentially restricting access to the north from 3rd Street, basically resulting in people having to drive around and access the highway through 6th Street to by the Wood King. No action was decided. Administration chose to take no action at that time. But you know, we are aware that upgrades will be required to this intersection in the future. You know, within 4 or 10 years out is what I think the information is that I've seen, based on, depending on the rate of development in the Kaiser area to the south. The 3rd Street intersection is, you know, it's included in the draft offsite levy bylaw. We funded, I think 50-50, I think it's 50% through levies and 50% through, would be paid for by the town. So 50% from development, percent from the town, is what we're looking at. And yeah, that's what I can tell you about that.
Councilor Payne, follow up?
Actually, 2 questions on the variations that are being requested. The number of parking stalls is adequate. However, you state in here the length of the stall is less than required. How much less? Is it an inch or 2, or is it a foot or 2?
Let's go back to that slide. It's the main. Yeah, the parking one. There's
Yes. I think it was the first
That's a
one.
different slide than what we've got, but it covers some of the same stuff.
So 6 stalls are between 5.48 meters and 5.57 meters. The minimum requirement is 6 meters, so we're looking at just over half a meter.
Foot and a half.
Yeah, it's, you know, they've been, it's identical to the other thing. They're using the same plans as the other buildings. The parking stalls that are short are indoors. They're in the building. The ones that are outside meet the minimum requirement.
Okay.
It's the yeah, there's a short because there's a mechanical room, I think that yeah, and as
Okay.
the short.
The next question has to do with the noise attenuation berm. It's a developer's problem because if it's a noisy unit, people aren't going to want to buy it. However, we had our bylaws in place for a reason. Is there any way that they're going to attenuate the noise or do something? They can't put a privacy fence in apparently.
Yeah, so just developed back, I think the bylaws, the DC 5 bylaw goes back to 2005, around then. And then the site started developing, I think in 2007, they started with the first building. The bylaw does require sound attenuation berm. That's what it says. That berm was not provided with development of the first or second buildings. Where the berm was shown on those plans that were approved in the first and second buildings, the berm's not even contained fully within the property of the site. It would be encroaching into where they show it being constructed, it would be encroaching into the road right of way. There was a stand of old poplar trees where the berm would be. They chose to leave the poplar trees in place and not construct the berm in the earlier phases. It's our opinion that the sound attenuation berm wouldn't be very effective because most of the units the units are all above grade. So you get the highway down here, you get the units up here, unless your berm is going to be higher than the units, like you're not blocking any sound. So it's not, we don't think there's any purpose. The MPC is in their draft conditions. They're requiring construction of a fence, but the fence would be 6 feet high, and that the fence isn't going to impact the noise either, because once again, the units are higher than the highway. So the fence is going to be, it'll be blocking the view, providing some security, some privacy, but it's not going to do anything for sound.
Okay, thank you.
Please continue.
Okay. Landscaping. Bylaw requires landscaping along 3rd Street and landscape along 3rd Street and 1st Avenue, along Center Avenue. Xeriscaping is encouraged. What is proposed, the MPC recommends a 1.8 meter fence be constructed. Verna, can you move that little black box?
No. I can make it. No, it just reappeared.
Okay.
I don't think I can do anything about it.
Okay.
I did.
So the recommending fence, sound attenuation is not practical. That's what the MPC said. I agree with them. Balance of the lot is not covered. Balance of the lot is not covered by parking or sidewalks. It's to be seeded to grass. And they're proposing a number of trees in that grass area.
Having been to MPC at the last couple of meetings, it just kind of crossed my mind. Maybe a suggestion to not seed in grass, but seed in some of the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? Clovers, just stuff that is not going to require.
Oh, you're sorry, yeah, you're talking about the greenscape.
Yeah. I think
Xeriscaping.
Yeah,
Yes.
perhaps that should be a suggestion. Yeah, that we pass along, because why not? I don't know, something potentially to investigate with them if they're open to doing something different than just grass, because I know we're trying to move away from that. a little
You
bit.
guys even have some kind of like, if that open grass and recreational space for the residents there, picnic tables or something like that, something just to get them in the area. I know it's exactly that kind of same thing, getting rid of the grass and just a spot to have grow long and go.
But I don't think they want a picnic along the highway.
Well, even in the in-betweens, there's that, those trees that kind of look like they border the other building,
No, that's the road.
right there. Where the mouse is.
Oh, no, you're right. You were correct.
Yeah, there's some, there is it's asphalt up to a point, and then it's grass, and it's a fire lane, so.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it's not even.
No, it's not even very nice anything. So it's currently gravel.
Just a thought,
They
just
did-
want to throw it out there.
They
in
do
case-
have areas in the other buildings that they've got set up for sitting outside and stuff, so I think that would be up to like, putting picnic tables out there, I mean.
Right, okay, say
do
big
that.
things, but for more. But, yeah, not here. But. Gravel scheme.
Thanks for hearing me out. Please continue. You're welcome to go ahead.
All right, here we're showing site servicing, okay. I don't know how much detail we need to go into here. It's the site is serviced. There are existing water, sewer, and storm facilities or infrastructure servicing the site that tie into the municipal services. I don't think anything really new is proposed. This building is tying into the existing servicing that services the two existing buildings. Yeah, everything goes out to First Avenue. The stormwater is discharged. The stormwater is discharged, but it ties into the goes into the catch basin, or if it goes above grade, but it's discharged into the municipal system, and then it's conveyed down to by the road or the highway ditch down to the ditch that runs past the community garden. Waters and goes. The servicing has been reviewed by our municipal engineers, and they are satisfied with what's proposed. Cool. This is the connection to the town sidewalk. So there's a sidewalk on the south side of Highway 7. There's an existing sidewalk that goes just past the dumpsters that provides the pedestrian connection from this development to the municipal sidewalk. We are also requiring the developer to dedicate a right-of-way for a future sidewalk on the west side of the property. The alignment of 3rd Street is the property line is really close to where the curb is on the by 3rd Street, and there's existing utilities, TELUS and some power poles there that make putting a sidewalk right up against the curb very difficult. Those facilities would have to be moved at a considerable expense. So what we had the developer do is provide a right of way for a sidewalk. The sidewalk would not be right up against the curb. It would be a bit of a grass boulevard, and then a sidewalk. Allow those existing power poles to remain in place. But they're just providing the right of way for the sidewalk to be constructed in the future, rather than require them to put it in now, because if we put it in now, they'd only be putting it in for the length of this parcel, and so it'd be a sidewalk to nowhere. And even though there is something to be said for getting infrastructure built when we can as a condition, We just didn't think it was necessary to get them to build it at this time.
Is it their responsibility to build the sidewalk, like at a later date? Or is it just their responsibility to set the right of way for the town so that we can build it for it at a later date?
That's what the condition, that's how it's conditioned. They provide the right of way now, and the town could build that sidewalk at a future date.
Okay. So it's not up to them to build it?
It's not up to them to build it. They'll build it now. There's no condition to make them build it.
No, just wanted, thanks, Ross.
Just getting the right of way. Like ideally, when the site was developed, these sorts of things could have been addressed, but we're trying to play catch up on this one. And we think getting the right of way is, well, that gets us part of the way there. Yeah, sidewalk.
Well, and I think it's gracious of them to accommodate so that we can build the sidewalk, because it's their property in a sense, is it not, or is?
It is, it is their property.
Yeah, so, Councillor Thompson?
So in our new subdivisions, that we're building, like Willow Ridge and whatever, is it the town's responsibility to build the sidewalks or the developers?
It's the developers, but it's not exactly the same situation. Like that is a, when we have new, there's a difference between land development and where a developer is taking a large tract of raw land and putting in municipal services, roadways, stormwater systems, and sidewalks and franchise utilities and everything. Versus taking a parcel in an existing developed area that has roads and other municipal infrastructure. Like we can require them to build it, to construct the sidewalk.
Well, it's just my thought is that if they're putting all this concrete in that area now, wouldn't it be a hell of a lot cheaper to do the sidewalk now than us do it and pay for it 10 years down the road?
Yep.
So that's just my thoughts there, is like, I'd rather not pay for a sidewalk 10 years down the road, especially when it would be probably more efficient and less costly just to do for the darn sidewalk now. That's just my thoughts. It's 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road. Quite often in this town doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, yeah, it would be a sidewalk in the short term, but the town would have to, in order for the sidewalk to be extended the full length of the block to First Avenue, the town will have to negotiate a right of way from the condo association that owns the building to the south of it. So, we have some little more work to do before we can get sidewalk the full length. But if we require the developer to build it now, we get that length of sidewalk. Yeah, and it was cheaper because the developers building it.
I don't know, like, I don't like the idea of, oh, we'll do it down the road sometime, and it's the town that's gonna pay for it. I just really don't like that idea. I mean, the costs are gonna be built into the cost of them selling these units, and that's the way it should be, for any developer, in my mind.
Deputy Mayor?
Was there no easement put in for the other condo to the side? There was sidewalk? And are the parking stalls titled?
No, not titled. It's a condominium. So there's titles to the condominiums, but
There's no title, because it's taking, you have a long pickup truck, you can fight it out in the parking lot.
well, I expect the condo association would have a mechanism for assigning the parking that's outdoors. But
I was just curious. It doesn't really matter. It's-
I agree with Councillor Thompson. Is there a way we can have them do this as it is in direct control?
It's up to us. It's up to us as a council.
I mean, I think it, because yeah, if it's come to us, the end. Right.
Yeah.
So they would give us recommendations. I think it does come down to us.
That's correct. So the MPC has provided recommendations to council, but council is the approving authority. Council can apply what conditions it feels is appropriate.
I would like to see a sidewalk going through there, in all honesty. Bit of a death trap. You try to turn up that, right where that little berm is. I think it's kind of needed. So it'd be nice to see it put in.
Yeah, and my hesitation is what happens if the unit to the south doesn't grant us an easement to build the sidewalk in the future? Then we're still stuck in the same position saying it goes to nowhere. Because effectively, we don't have any approval. It's almost in our best interest because the developers are the same, to have them give us the easement. Are we allowed to do that? Can we ask them to give us the easement on the south building as a condition for this build?
No, well, no.
No, because they're two separate.
Two separate entities.
Okay.
But I mean, then we don't want to be the town paying for that whole length of sidewalk. Sidewalk's not cheap.
Right. I'm with you on
I
the
mean-
whole, if we kick it down the road, it's not gonna get done.
I-
You're right.
So I'd like to see that change.
And may I clarify as well, is it the entire street length of the two condominiums, or is it just the length of what we're proposed right here? So that sidewalk
Right here.
can literally end right there, right at the next condo.
Correct.
Yeah, it's,
But then we let them, then we have no
then
sidewalk.
we never have any sidewalk, and there's no sidewalk, yeah.
No.
Then we just have to get our planning department to work on getting that easement, and then the town will have to pay for that piece.
We're gonna have to pay for.
Well, yeah, there you go.
But I don't want to.
But
pay
might
for
as well
both
get that
pieces.
piece.
No, well, like Heather made a great point there, Councillor
We're
Thompson,
part of that
is
piece
that you
anyway.
pass that cost on to the buyers,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? They're not gonna pay for that sidewalk. Deputy Mayor.
Can we put the cost of the sidewalk in an account and say the stipulation is we're gonna get the easement for the next building or the next owner, and then we will build the complete sidewalk? And put a timeline of 2 years on it? Like, is that possible? Sure, anything is possible.
We can, yeah, we can require them to pay, to enter into a development agreement to pay for the construction of the infrastructure. So yes, we can require a development agreement to pay for the future construction of the sidewalk.
So next year we could get the whole thing built in 2 days.
That's probably I think that's a good solution.
Yeah, that's a great idea. My only concern on that idea is get the money to construct the sidewalk, but that doesn't benefit them now because it will be cheaper for them to do it now than down the road.
Well, could we not allow them to do it now then?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
If we said, here's option A and option B,
Yeah.
do it now or put it in an account and do it later. Deputy Mayor.
Because costs are going up all the time, so we're gonna end up,
Sure.
When are they breaking ground on this thing? Not this year.
as soon as we develop it, or approve it.
I don't know.
Do you guys think?
Because I mean, they wouldn't put the sidewalk in until they put their pilings and stuff, because sidewalks are almost getting destroyed by trucks.
Well, yeah, the sidewalks.
They're the last things to go. So it would be next year, is my guess.
Okay.
For the sidewalk.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't like the
No,
idea.
I don't like the idea of postponing it. I don't mind the idea of putting money aside, but it really doesn't benefit the developer because it will be cheaper for him to do it now versus later. And I mean, we're gonna have to bite the bullet for some of the cost on the extension.
It just buys us time to get the easement agreement for the building to get set up.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Because yeah, they won't be pouring sidewalk this year.
Okay, so we'll circle back to that. Would we need to give admin or Rod a motion for that? Or just we'll talk about it at the end?
There is a motion here. We'll have to amend it.
Friendly amendment, or just a minute, okay. Are we okay on that, team?
That would fall under. Item on.
Just one. You just have to read it. We'll put that up on the board when you guys get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for hearing us out.
Was that the last time?
Yes.
It was, okay. All right, that's the last time. So,
Sure.
can you put up the letter from the NBC with the questions?
Oh.
You sent that to me today, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Yeah, there's folder.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop the screen share for just a second. I have to get into my email. Sorry, I thought I put this in the folder earlier.
Oh, good, you got it. That's right. I was just gonna resend it to you.
Sorry. Screen share back up. Shut that off.
Good, there you go.
Me too. Hawks and gas.
Everything is like, I need to know more about the songs. Too.
I don't know. They were down by.
Yeah. Yeah. We had them up by our place for, right?
Okay.
We did, because you can hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, well, actually, solar folks. From the space behind us.
Oh,
I can go one more.
evident.
That's good.
Oh,
There you go. That's
okay,
it.
that's good. Yeah, good, okay. Yeah, because we don't have any of this.
Up in our area.
There was a den there for.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, are we back in action?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, right on.
So this, these are the draft or the conditions of approval that the plan commission has recommended to council. A payment of a $13,000 performance security. That's not an awful lot of money on a 22-unit apartment building. It is what our land use bylaw or what our fee schedule stipulates, which is $1,000 and then $500 per unit. That money, the intention of the performance security is not so much to like have enough money to finish the development if the developer, fails. We have to take, millions to performance security, and that would receive a lot of pushback from developers. So that performance security would be, we would draw on that if the developer abandoned the site. Basically, we use that money to secure the site, fill in a hole if there's a big excavation. It's basically to ensure public safety, and that's And then it serves as an incentive at the very end of the development when there's always like, you know, half a dozen things that are left undone that the developer doesn't want to complete. That will put the money to incentivize them to finish up those last landscaping pieces and asphalt patches, whatever little bits always seem to not get done.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks. Well, you know, with that in mind, you know, the sidewalk is public infrastructure. That $13,000 was, you know, arrived at, you know, in accordance with a fee schedule, taking into account the fact that there is no public infrastructure necessary, but the council's requiring the construction of public infrastructure now in the way of a sidewalk. Council could increase that more to give us a little bit more security for in the event that they construct the sidewalk and you know, it fails, it cracks. So we could increase that. Council itself to do that. And the second condition, they have to pay the offsite levies in accordance with the bylaw that's in effect at the time. They pay them right away. They pay under the current bylaw. If they take a little bit longer, they'll be paying under the new bylaw, which will be a significant increase. You have to pay for water meter. I don't know if I need to go through these conditions one by one, but you know, they have to construct it in accordance with the plans that they've submitted. We list all the plans that they've submitted. They have to construct the parking in accordance with what's required by our land use bylaw. 22 of the stalls are dedicated for residents, and then they're required to provide 6 visitor stalls. So we're meeting that requirement. Condition number 12, the MPC required them to construct the 1.8 meter high privacy screening fence. It would be constructed along the north property line between the building and the highway, just on the south side of the existing trees. There's kind of like there's a river rock. Not quite a berm, I wouldn't call it a berm, it's not a berm, but a river rock strip of that runs between the trees that are there. And so it would be constructed on the inside, like on the property side of that gravel strip. They need to screen their mechanical equipment, screen it from view. Yeah, they need to get all their safety codes permits. We have a lot of general conditions around keeping the site in a neat and tidy condition during construction, minimize dust erosion and sedimentation, when they're developing the site. Exterior lighting is to be consistent with dark sky principles, which means that the fixtures need to focus the light down and elsewhere, minimize light trespass onto adjacent properties. Yeah, it's the condition. So council wants to add a condition that the developer construct the sidewalk. What we should, I guess the way we can phrase it is we require the developer to enter into a development agreement for construction of a sidewalk, and then through the development agreement, that addresses the submission of plans, submission and approval of plans, and the inspection process and all the rest of it. So we can add that as a condition, probably make that condition number 4, Vernon. We'll make that a prior to release condition. And then all the other conditions get member.
Motion now, or the recommended proposed resolution now says with an additional condition, so this would be 4, you're saying? Right now, the additional, the developer enter into a utility right-of-way agreement, but we instead wanted to say that that the developer.
It would actually, yeah, good point. It would be both. We want the utility right of way because we need that to make it a public right of way. And then we want the development agreement to for the construction of
The sidewalk, which would be number 4.
Yeah.
So
Okay, sorry, I need to have the wording for the condition. Is this one condition or 2?
it's
Can
2.
can it be,
Well, it's not
Change.
can it be combined?
It's enter into utility right of way agreement with the town. And add additional condition, which would be number 4, that the developer construct. To construct. The sidewalk. Along the west lines. And not future construction.
Short-term future.
Yeah, it's not future construction, it will be part of the development. Okay,
you need to say that now.
yes.
I think you need to. Yeah. There'd be 2 additional prior to release conditions.
2 conditions, okay.
The developer into utility agreement.
Can I bullet them? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oops, not that one.
Yeah, they basically give them that price. Yeah, I didn't pay for it.
Yes, that one and then another one. Another condition.
So this one was for the right-of-way agreement for construction of a sidewalk.
Yeah.
For construction, not future construction.
It is.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
Both on the like property rights, so.
Yeah. And then you're right, it's not future construction, it's just construction. So we want the utility right of way.
Every to. The Y. in
Entering a development agreement for construction.
Why are we putting it?
Construction or construction costs.
Is that correct?
Is it construction or construction costs? Are they,
Construction.
they're actually the ones that build it? Okay.
Does that work? Because there would be 2.
But isn't it just gonna be so they enter into a utility right of way agreement and then isn't that, it won't be another development agreement for the construction of the sidewalk, it'll just be.
They're separate. This is a utility right-of-way agreement. They have to give you the land.
So that's
the
permanent.
development agreement for the construction of the
That's the
sidewalk.
actual construction of the sidewalk.
Okay, so it is completely different development permit than the building.
Yeah, the development agreement, it's a contract when
Okay.
we have developers construct public infrastructure.
Extra clarification.
Would it help if we said on the first one to facilitate construction of a sidewalk? Just to change the wording a little bit.
Sure.
Does that help clarify it? Luke?
Yep. Right.
Deputy Mayor's got a question, burning question here.
I really want to know. You're quoting the plumbing code under 28 in your stipulations that the low flow toilets, 6 liters of water. You said earlier that you weren't going to quote the building code, but you're quoting the plumbing code.
All flush drums must be, no flush, no usage not to exceed.
It's actually a water conservation bylaw too.
Yeah, we're just trying to follow the water conservation bylaw, which requires that. I don't know what the plumbing code, like, I think the plumbing code requires, or maybe it's a CSA, or maybe it's a CSA thing.
I can bring it up more.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can buy a toilet these days.
You
It
can.
is a low flush.
It was 2008, it was revisited, and that was one of the big changes.
That bylaw actually predates 2008.
Yeah, it does.
It was here before I was.
Where's
I
it?
was just wondering, so there is no entrance, so I shouldn't have bothered. Mayor Kelly's ticked off for some time.
Well, I mean, that's just true. I told you not to ask. Yeah, that's what I said. She keeps pointing at 10:30. Okay, Councillor Thompson, this is yours. You want to read it to us?
Yeah, I can read it out loud if you want me to. That council agreed to approve development permit 21-76 for a 4-story, 22 unit multifamily housing development. How come I read somewhere it was 24 units?
Parkinson.
28 parks.
I thought it was 22 parking stalls. And there was 24 units.
No, it's 22 units.
Plus 6 gas parking spots.
Yeah, 4 stories.
Yeah.
$22 units is what has been developed in other places. Well, the first one was 24, the second one's 22. This one's 20.
Yeah, I just thought that I read it. 4-story, 24 unit multifamily development
Oh, where's that?
on the development permit.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Well, on the development.
There it is.
Yeah.
Good eyes.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Well, on their application, well, let's go with 20.
23, let's split the difference.
No, let's go with 24.
Hold on, is the plans for 22, 2 or 2?
We better count.
24.
Because now,
That's what he's.
Could they add suites? I mean, that was the
Well,
development.
that's true,
Obviously.
but it's 6 on each floor. They didn't have some penthouse type of thing.
No.
It's not even in this town, it's in Black Diamond.
Oh, dear.
Black diamond on.
Just like he spelled safety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Page 251.
that's 24, so.
Here, let's count.
Safety.
these.
Safety or
Here, I'll see if I can make them bigger.
I counted the parking stalls, there's 22, and that's how come I was kind of confused. You'd think that there would be a parking stall for each unit.
Yeah. There's 8 there.
Then I also did the calculations, so it's almost 8.5 million.
8 on 3 floors. If they're all the same.
Yeah.
They'd all be the same.
They still-
This one's got 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got 6 units there.
So.
Building.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
feel that.
There's some good profit
And
coming
build
in.
a sidewalk.
No,
Well, depending on.
there's some good profit.
It doesn't show all the floors
Does it show?
unless it's in the fine print.
Well, yeah.
4th floor,
It's a 4, maybe that's.
3rd floor, 2nd floor.
Okay. Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's got 8.
Yeah.
That one's got 8.
Yeah. That one's got 6.
It's their typo. There are
Okay, so
22.
22.
There's 22.
Okay, well, that better be.
We counted the suites on the floor plan. It's 22.
So the permit was written correctly. The developer
Okay,
made a mistake in this.
because I was a bit confused with that, because like 22 parking spots, usually they have 8 parking spots that is titled with each condo, the indoor ones.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, well, that's weird. Why would they do that? So there you go. Sorry.
Good thing I made you read it back to us.
Yeah. 22 unit multifamily housing development as per May 20th, 2022 letter of recommendation of the MPC, including condition 1 to 32 is presented with 2 additional prior to release conditions, that the developer enter into a utility right-of-way agreement with the town to facilitate construction of a sidewalk along the west property line, and that the developer enter into a development agreement for construction of a sidewalk along the west property line.
Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Passed unanimously. Thanks, Rod. Good work. Good work, team. Okay, let's see where we're at. No, we're not breaking because I'm not letting you. Not letting it happen. Okay, request for council support for ministerial order amendment. Please, everyone just tell me you read this, like me.
Yeah.
No.
I read it.
I read it.
I'm fine with moving forward.
Thanks, Rod.
Okay, thank you so much, Rod.
Good night, guys.
Night.
Night.
Yeah, I'll take a motion. Unless anyone wants to talk about it. Okay, Councillor Bain?
I'm just curious how the ministry felt about you being able to point out such egregious errors.
Okay. You know what? This is a first for them too, because remember, we asked for an election outside of the legislation.
Okay.
And I'm not sure they've ever done one before. If they have, it's been also unusual. So
Yes.
the things that we found were things that would normally have been in place had we had the election after January 1st. Then we wouldn't have needed these things.
Well done.
So they were great. They were great to work with. They were great at coaching and trying to figure out being coached. It was a good teamwork meeting that we had with them. It was really good.
Well done noticing those things.
Excellent.
It was my Saturday
Very
panic.
subtle, but important.
So the ramifications in not voting in favor of this would be a passing corporation date election?
No.
No.
No, that
Nothing
that
changes.
order has sailed.
Okay, okay.
I'm not entirely sure if both councils were to say they were not in favor of it, then I don't know.
Cool.
Honestly, I don't know what the answer to that would
Right.
be.
I know, that's what I was curious.
Yeah, so I don't know what the minister would do with that then,
Okay.
because I guess they might have to amend the other order
Mhm.
to accommodate differently. I'm not sure.
Okay, fair.
Thanks very
I
much.
thought it was too bad there was.
Doing all that.
Have to vote against it.
Yeah.
Really great work.
Yeah, well done, Bernard, for sure. Okay, someone give me a motion if you please. Councillor Thompson,
That council agreed to support the returning officer's letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs dated May 31st, 2022, requesting that 3 additional items be considered for inclusion in the ministerial order 035-22.
would anyone like to speak to it? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. Okay, sprinkler system repair. There was some damage found at the rink and it needs to be fixed. I don't know if anyone wants that in more detail, but it has to be done before they start flooding in August. And they need $3,000. Councillor Bain.
The council agreed to authorize expenditure in an amount not to exceed $3,000 and funds to come from the Oil Fields Regional Arena Operating Reserve to repair the fire suppression system. And once again, boy, you said everything I would have said. It needs to be done.
Needs to be done. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. 8.4. Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought it was something that was an addition. Okay, Government Road North Pathway, pretty significant upgrade. I'll let anyone, including administration, speak to this if they wish, but the motion's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, of course.
You have some questions?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so it says that there's 12-inch culvert at the bottom of the slope and there's a 6-inch culvert at the top. That they're both 12-inch plus. Both culverts.
The new one will be a 12-inch culvert going in. So it'll be a larger culvert at the top of the slope and pavement so that it grades the water will then go into the stormwater to the ditch.
I have one question.
Yes.
So in the RFP, it says, because right now there is a 12-inch culvert at the top. And so it says it's upgrading from a 12-inch or a 6-inch culvert to a 12-inch, increasing the size of the top culvert to 12 inches. But the top culvert already is 12 inches.
It's already 12 inches culvert?
Correct, folks. Made it today.
Okay, well then Les is incorrect in the information. It's supposed to be a bigger culvert. Maybe it's 15-inch culvert that's supposed to be there. I will have to check with them.
And then it says paving top 30 feet and farther down in the expenditure, it says install 30 meters of asphalt. So what is it, 30 feet or 30 meters? Because that's a big difference.
Yeah,
They're in, well, for $550, you're only gonna get 30 feet.
So 30 feet
Yeah.
is nothing. Like it doesn't even, I have pictures of where my tape measurement ends at 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
My other concern is when this pathway was proposed and constructed.
Yeah.
We told the neighbors that it would never be a paved pathway. It was always going to be a natural gravel pathway.
The, if I can speak to
Yeah,
that.
please do.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. That's what happened with the neighbors. This has been the recommendation that's come forward from Parks and Rec.
I do not think paving it is going to save anything.
Okay.
You can wash it.
It will wash it. Like even in a normal spring storm,
Yeah.
the amount of water that goes through that,
Mhm.
my street, it's like the Mississippi. Like there is so much water. This pathway, no matter what you do to it, it says right here in the master drainage plan, you need to design for a 1 in 100. You need a 5-meter wide ditch with class 1 riprap to accommodate the velocity and volume of water. So I
understand that.
think paving and putting $30,000 towards this is just, you might as well light that money on fire.
I think maybe 3 years down the road, just the same things.
No, this washes out 3 times a year.
We would say like asphalt might save it for a year.
No, it'll just get undermined, the
Yeah.
asphalt will get chewed, the water is, the water wants to come straight down and then across. So I don't have a recommendation, I'm not a designer, but I think hiring a designer, and not anyone that I know, would be a good place to start.
and there's too many questions here.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to give up.
On numbers, on size of culvert. I would be prepared to vote on this tonight anyway.
Question for administration. What are they planning to do to fix it in the interim? Because is it still rented out?
Mhm.
Yeah, are they gonna go in there and try to figure out how to just,
We can ask them,
Smooth the ground.
we can ask them to do that. Right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, because the next time it rains, it's exactly what's
exactly say, I'm also afraid
Maybe the same
people
scenario.
get their ankle caught in it on the way there, right?
Yeah.
So
so just, we can do a rehab on it, but that's still gonna cost,
that's good.
some sort of dollars to be able to do the grading on that particular, to do that, to get a fix on it.
Hey, council,
But I can get a cost to bring it.
thanks, City of Brown.
Yeah.
Council? Someone give me something. I guess are we direct administration?
Yeah, we're gonna direct it to come back at another time?
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay, with all the case,
With some alternatives, or you want to word it?
Do you want to give us that?
sure, okay.
Please.
That council request administration provide alternative solutions to the pathway.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, less.
To reconstruct Government Road North pathway,
I think we can just even figure
to
out.
repair the Government Road
Yeah.
North pathway. Sorry, that was my friendly amendment.
That's fair.
Chad.
Sorry, I've been in the heat all day, my brain's been mush.
Can I ask a question? Is council want to do a long-term solution to repair? Which then would have the recommendation of the stormwater master plan with that slope that needs to be done properly
Mhm.
so that it's able to handle the amount of water that's coming.
I would like to see that. So we can maybe request for repair for now and then have them look at,
About
Well, it's a
Long-term.
bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
That it's not just this little piece, because Veronica's right, it'll probably wash out again.
yeah,
You don't want to wash out pavement, but the bigger picture for storm water management in that whole area, like, again, Veronica says, it just washes out everything in that area.
yeah.
So,
there's the
again, part of the streets aren't paved and some are, and so it's a bit of a mess.
Well,
There is some recommendations that came forward in the stormwater master plan, that I had cut it and pasted in here. And so that. Did I cut that? No, I didn't cut it and paste it. I cut it and pasted it and gave it to Les. And asked if they were being followed, and he said, no, not at this point. So I think that if we're going to spend dollars on it, that we need to be able to, properly plan for that pathway.
Sorry, which documents do you want to be considered?
The stormwater master plan. Master drainage plans.
And doing a short-term repair as well.
Yeah, but we have to do a,
A separate motion.
separate motion for, quick fix on the report.
Is that motion okay with you, Councillor Vanderhook?
yes,
Well, aren't you gonna bring back long-term alternatives and the costs?
sure. Sure.
Yes.
Repair these
So
two.
why do we need another?
Because right now it's unsafe.
Oh,
I think that's good. Can we read it out?
I think we're okay.
Okay.
You guys okay with the motion on the board? All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Then I'm gonna make another motion to fix it in here.
Yeah.
Okay. The council would request to have the pathway repaired. At a low cost solution. What do you do, gravel?
Well,
You grade it? Yes, please.
Either way, I don't have any budget to be able to do that, so I'm going to suggest that we're going to have to take something out of the Parks and Rec
Okay.
operating reserve to be able to make that work and do that repair, but I don't know what the amount would be, and so what would council feel comfortable, but with an amount to throw a grader down there?
I was about to say 2,000, so a dump truck worth of 5? It's a dump truck worth of gravel,
Not to exceed that.
not to exceed 5, there you go.
well, you're gonna need gravel, right? So, yeah, I think 5 would,
Not to exceed
5 be all right.
I think so. I don't know. I'll find out.
Phil from,
Was this the, sorry, the Parks General Operating Reserve?
Yeah, the same one.
Shit, it get tore up. Throw it in there. It's actually.
Parks General Operating Reserve.
Was that your motion as well?
Okay, yes, it is. I like it.
Okay.
Put your name on it. Let's do it. Okay. Council, okay with putting this on the board? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, carried unanimously? Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Okay. I think we're okay on that one. Budget reallocation request, Deputy Mayor. Please.
the council agreed to transfer $616 from the cemetery operating reserve to adjust for the increase.
Okay, would anyone like to speak to the motion in regards to the cemetery?
It's totally self-explanatory.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Short, sweet, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, another, okay, budget reallocation request for council clothing. Some of us purchased some clothing, as you can see right here.
It's a nice
fancy.
looking logo.
Fancy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
someone give me a motion.
I'll give you the motion.
Thank you.
The council agreed to I had the cemetery ones open. I had the number was wrong. The council agreed to request that $214.50 be transferred from the council operating reserve to the 2022 council goods budget to pay for the portion of the Diamond Valley, or to the Diamond Valley Clothing Company invoice. Words
Pertaining.
to the eligible council purchases.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know why I couldn't get that one.
That's all right. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, IEDC member reappointment. Would administration like to speak to this one?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, you
There you
know,
go.
based on the terms of reference, it just needs to be reappointed.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Council? Come on, we're rolling, don't slow me down. Deputy Mayor.
The council agreed to approve the intermunicipal economic development committee recommendation for a term extension for members Mark Muller, Tarek Nemmer, and Matthew Wagstaff to July 2025 is permitted under Turner Valley Bylaw 21-1121 and Black Diamond 19-06 IEDC committee consolidation section 3 number.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Very well done. Okay, AD Munis Convention 2022 coming up in September. I spoke to Daryl about this, so if anyone wants to throw their hat in the ring, please do. I
I
know
would
that.
love to, but I'll be in Scotland.
Okay, okay, I got two. How many, did it say how many? 4? Okay. And Daryl wants to go.
Just so that council's aware, I do want to have an appointment ready for you for Alberta Transportation to advocate for a crosswalk.
Okay.
But at this point in time, they are not in favor of it.
We need 2 crosswalks.
Someone just gotta hit me with a card.
Where?
Done deal. All right. Bring that
Let's try to
to
make it as soft as possible.
The mayor of Blacktown was hit by a vehicle.
By a councillor.
Chasing their dog, it was loose.
Because it was chasing cobras.
There are only
Roll
3
these.
in there.
Crosswalk could have saved his life.
Do you wanna go? I think I'm away.
No, it's my kid's birthday around then, so
Okay.
I.
The 3 of you? Yeah,
Yeah.
like Daryl, sorry, I know that you said you were away. Yeah, Daryl and Lisa.
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
Rooms, no rooms. No, start with 1. Sorry.
Nobody shares the room.
I'm sure.
I do, but no, if anybody
No,
there.
exactly.
Okay, will someone give me a motion for 1?
Yeah.
And then we'll keep going.
Must so necessary.
Councilor Bain.
The council agreed to direct administration to register Deputy Mayor Kloiber, Councillor Lalonde, and Councillor Bain for the 2022 Alberta Municipalities Convention.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Someone feel free to give me a couple more motions if you'd like to.
I'm not interested in.
Is the lawyers doing a thing again? Because maybe,
Are you interested in the pre-convention?
No, I hate this thing.
Okay,
I mean, no.
can't make an answer for Alon, but that's fine. He's not here. So someone can give me 3. If you guys want.
That council agrees with direct administration to book accommodation for 3 members of council for the Fairmont
Policy.
Palace. Thank you. I was gonna say the.
I would prefer if we didn't name a hotel. The blocks go really quickly.
Oh.
And this has been open for a couple of
I
weeks.
misread. Sorry.
I
for
need to know
specified
your date.
required Stay period.
You need to know your dates.
So September. 20th, 22nd.
Okay, so you need it for the nights of the 20th and the 21st. So, oh, yeah.
Checking in September 20th and checking out on the 23rd.
Okay.
Yes. Right? I was confused. Still the phone numbers.
Yeah, it's not just three books.
I was supposed to connect with like the date before I arrived in London.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Cried.
we do our best to try and book the closest ones in first and work our way out from as we need to.
As you wish.
As long as they're nice for get and then travel.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
really nice.
Okay, we've got that nailed down. All those in favor? Once the dates are locked in, good to go. Okay, good enough. Okay, 8.9,
I'm sorry, before you
of course.
move ahead, did you speak to Councilor Lalonde about pre-conference?
I did not. Would you like me to call him right now? Am I allowed to do that?
And so neither of you are interested. Do you want to make a generic motion allowing him to register if he wishes?
Sure,
With that?
might as well leave it open for him if he wants. So you just want a motion just saying in the event that Councilor Lalonde wishes to attend the pre-convention, he,
We could just say that to direct administration to register attendees for pre-convention sessions as requested. Is that okay?
yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
So we unvote and then.
no, I think we can leave it the way
This
that it
was another-
was.
a third
We'll just make
motion.
another one. Councilor Vandenhoek gave us that one. Thanks, Councilor.
You betcha.
Does that sound, that's good for you, Verna?
Yes, then I can contact him, register him if he wants to.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thanks for bringing that up. That way we don't have to wait. Okay, we're okay to move on. Okay, so 8.9, very self-explanatory. Someone want to give me a motion? I was like hoping that it's gonna be like, who's going to this one? And then I got to it and it's like, oh, it's donating more stuff to them. Great.
Hopefully, yeah, like to play.
Yeah, I want to go. Okay, but if someone wants to give me a motion on that one, we will keep on going. Councilor Thompson? Do you want to give us are you going to give us the first one?
Yep, I'm pretty good with that.
Okay.
That council agreed to provide a high teen hole sponsorship for the 2022 Spectacular Golf Classic at a cost of $350, with the funds to come from the 2022 Economic Development Advertising Public Relations budget, and further agreed to provide the gift consisting of
A, B, or C?
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C? A, B, or C? You know our packages?
Well,
All three?
all three.
Hello out. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, wonderful. That one's done. Okay, reports and committee minutes. Sorry. Okay, so we have the Joint Friendship Agreement Committee minutes. April 13th, May 7th, and June 8th. They've all been adopted, so I don't need a motion for them.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah,
accept
to
them.
accept.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favor of accepting the minutes? Okay, carried unanimously. Wonderful, thank you. Council reports. Thank you, council, for getting your reports in. Those are there for information. Take a motion, Councillor Bain.
To accept the council reports for information purposes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bain. All those in favor to accept the reports? Carried unanimously. Okay. 9.3, tendering report. Would anyone like to speak to this one? Or accept his information? Well, I mean, we can still accept his information.
Not sure. I'm just not sure.
Councilor Bain?
Well, put up your hand and say your.
Go ahead.
I appreciate all the work that went into this. It's rather frustrating to sit there and have to basically rubber stamp something, but I guess that's basically what we have to do. Is that?
If I can speak to that.
Yeah.
You'd either do it at a council level or you would do it at a tendering committee level. And, you know, to be honest, and it may be selfish of me, but it's easier to get 3 of you than it is to get 4 of you. And that's part of the challenge with the rules of tendering contracts, there's rules of tendering contracts. And once you put out an RFP, right, or even an RFQ in some cases, like if you do not a request for quotation, not a request for qualifications, the results are the same. Those tender documents may form part of the contract. And you have to evaluate based on the criteria that you have written in those tender documents, and that's the law.
Yeah.
And I wish there was a nicer way to say it. So we can either bring forward, you know, get rid of the tendering committee if council wishes to do that, but then those documents will come forward to council.
Yeah, it's not that I disagree with your recommendation to keep the tendering committee. It's just an expression of frustration at the lack of control that council has, or that the tendering committee has. It's.
I agree to that. Somehow I have a problem with the tendering committee simply because there's no policy and there's no procedures in place. I think what we need is if we're gonna have a tendering committee, well, I don't even think we need a tendering committee, but we need a purchasing policy and procedures to go along with it. That's what I feel is needed. And I don't know if now is the time to even go forward with that, because, you know, with the new town will definitely need one. And, you know, so, I mean, if we just plug along with the tendering committee until that time, but I really would like to see purchasing policy put into place at ASAP as soon as we amalgamate. Because it's just difficult because, yeah, Ted's right, there's nothing there.
Sue Brown?
So Trevor Valley has a really good purchasing policy, and in conversations with our finance group and at the management group, we would just probably adopt that and change the name and bring that forward for councils, but that doesn't change goods or services over 75,000 and or construction.
No, I know.
So
that's fine, but the tendering committee needs something to kind of follow along with as far as procedures go, like, you know, like, and knowing full well in the procedures and stuff, what we can and can't do. And basically, there's not a lot we can do anyway, but when it's reviewing the contracts, I believe that the review of the RFP contracts when they come in is your job. And then you're going to make your recommendations to the tendering committee or to council. And so, you know, like tendering committee or council, I don't care one way or other.
Councilor Bain?
I'd just like to move that we accept the tendering report for information purposes. Tender report, whatever it is. I don't know how tender it is, but
Seems well done.
it wasn't.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the report? Councilor Thompson? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Carried unanimously. Okay. Correspondence and information.
No, yeah, CAO.
Oh, sorry, yes, that's right. That's what I was kept looking down here at. Okay, CAO report.
And I don't think that there's really anything else. The construction on First Avenue started yesterday. It's a 2-week delay in there, so we've issued a letter of concern to the contractor. There was actually earlier today, and this is not in my report, but earlier today, we found out that we would need another valve. So we'll be starting to do change orders for those particular things. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that there's, we've done some work around the our core going forward for amalgamation. We've spent a significant amount of hours in the last month working on amalgamation issue and trying to get things moved ahead. So Sean and I are still working on the RFP for branding. That's not completed and hasn't been put up yet, but we did do a working group on the jar today, so we'll be continuing to follow up on that next week. And that's, I think that's about all the important stuff. Oh, no, I got one more really important thing. And I didn't put it in my report, but later on you'll be doing an AUC decision refund of Fortis streetlights investments. The town of Black Diamond, as I advised in the council, in my CAO reports earlier, did a submission, and according to the Fortis municipal representatives that we had a meeting with on Monday, said that that had significant influence on the AUC decision. So there you go.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about the CAO report? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to accept this information. Deputy Mayor Kloiber, thank you very much. All those in favor of accepting the CAO report as information? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Charlene, and thank you everybody else. Okay. Correspondence and information. I'll go through these and we will just accept, or excuse me, we'll accept them as information at the end. Unless anyone would like to speak to any of them, please just interrupt me as we go through. We have a letter from Municipal Affairs. We have a letter from the Calgary Foundation, a grant, which is great. Was this the one that was missing? This grant?
We got the one that was missing and plus a new one.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. I met with Les and I apologize, I can't remember their names. But they dug right into that. As soon as they heard that Les hadn't received it or that the town had, they got right on it. So that's awesome. Okay, good to hear. Municipal Affairs Official Administrators Report for June 15th. The County of St. Paul about the utility rates, another letter. The 2025 Provincial Summer Games call for bids is there. And AUC decision, refund of Fortis street light investment.
This is very nice for municipalities.
Make sure you give that a good read if you have not already. Councillor Bain?
Did I see anywhere in there how much we were getting reimbursed?
It depends on the amount of streetlights that would be going in, and no, you wouldn't see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, you,
Pardon?
when you get the answer from your people, will you tell your other people?
And the West Winds Communities request for MO amendment. So I can just briefly speak to it if you haven't had a chance to read it. So it's essentially just asking to go from 2 members because we're 2 towns to 1 member because we'll be going to 1 town. So Barry and I will have to fight that one out.
Is it appropriate to do this yet?
It's effective January 1st.
Yeah, they included the date of incorporation. It's not effective immediately.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
it-
Looking right at it.
no, that's fair. No. Okay. Okay, if anyone would like to speak to any of the documents, please let us know. Otherwise, I would take one general motion to accept this information from the kindest person in here. Do that for you. I just thought I'd get someone to jump right up.
No, it's a trap. Don't do it.
I'll take the bait. Councillor Van Hook, you're the best.
All right.
Okay, make a motion?
That we accepted for information.
Perfect, thank you. All those in favor to accept this information? Wonderful. Okay, awesome. All right, yeah, if you guys want to take a break, let's take a break, but should we take a recess, then go into closed, or go into closed and then take a recess?
Can't do secret.
You have to.
Right.
read them.
Right, okay, at 9:33, do you want to take a 10-minute one?
45.
It's 5, okay. Okay, at
9:30.
9:38,
It's later, it's.
9:38,
I'm good to me.
we're back in session.
9:30, yeah, it's 9:30.
Call the meeting back to order at 9:42, and at this time, I'll take a motion to go into closed. Councilor Thompson. All those in favor of going into closed? Carried unanimously. And we'll move into closed.